Look, if you've been anywhere near the MMA gaming community lately, you know there is a massive storm brewing right now. EA Sports UFC 6 is out, and it boasts literally the most stunning, hyper-realistic graphics we've ever seen in the franchise. Yet, it is facing an absolute firestorm of backlash from its most hardcore veteran players. Why? Well, stick around and do not click away, because I promise you this isn't just another piece of AI slop. We've got a deeply researched, highly entertaining breakdown straight from the source material, and we're cutting through all the hype to uncover what's really breaking consoles under the hood. We're going to cut straight through all that marketing talk to figure out exactly why this huge divide exists between mainstream gaming critics and the veteran MMA community. Is it a knockout or a total tap-out? Oh, and hey, if you appreciate explainers that actually respect your time and get right to the facts, do me a huge favor and smash that like button right now. It really helps us keep making these deep dives for you. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at the UFC 6 divide, expanding the Octagon, striking a new balance, the whole flow state controversy, bugs and roster grievances, and finally, the final verdict. Let's get right into it.
Starting things off with part 1, the UFC 6 divide, critics versus the hardcore.
So, mainstream critics? They are absolutely loving this game. It's sitting at a solid 81 Metascore, with outlets like The Guardian calling it the best version yet, and praising its accessibility and story. But if you jump over to Reddit or the EA forums, man, it is a totally different story. Veterans who've been playing since the UFC 1 beta are tearing into the arcade-like direction. They're saying it's incredibly buggy, and honestly that it feels more like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter than an actual MMA simulation. Moving right along to part 2, expanding the Octagon, new modes and storylines. EA dropped a brand new mode this year called The Legacy. Think of it as this highly cinematic onboarding tutorial, but wrapped up in a surprisingly gripping rivalry story. You follow a fictional decorated college wrestler named Chris Carter as he grinds his way through the regional scene. We're talking fully acted out melodrama, intense press conferences, and get this, even a full-blown fight sequence inside a nightclub. It genuinely does an awesome job of giving the fights some real, heavy stakes before you even touch the main career mode. And that brings us to a really important number, 150. The revamped main career mode has totally ditched that old, repetitive weekly point grind. Instead, it features over 150 bespoke, randomized narrative events. And the game literally makes you feel the weight of your choices now. Reviewers pointed out that if you accidentally get too wild and injure your own trainer during a sparring drill, you are legitimately locked out of training that specific discipline for weeks while they heal up. Your actions actually have real, lasting consequences now, which is pretty amazing. They've also beefed up the single-player side of things. There's this Hall of Legends mode with documentary-style challenges for stars like Alex Pereira and Zhang Weili. Plus, there's a new team management mode called the Gym that uses Battle Pass-style reward paths. Though, heads up, players are saying the menus in there can be incredibly laggy. Actually, I'm super curious. What new game mode are you most hyped to try out? Or are you strictly here to grind online ranked matches? Let me know down in the comments real quick.
All right, part 3, striking a new balance, physics and feel.
Like we mentioned, mainstream outlets are just glowing over the presentation. The Guardian literally said it looks almost worryingly realistic, and they're not wrong. The visceral ragdoll physics are back, and you actually see dynamic bruising and cuts form in direct response to where you land your strikes. Plus, the striking chains are way faster, and they finally punish you for sloppy button mashing. You really have to respect distance and timing this year. But that mainstream praise sits in stark contrast to the hardcore veterans. Guys with thousands of hours in the franchise feel like the simplified inputs and super flashy visual effects have completely stripped away the simulation aspect they fell in love with. They are arguing that the new heads-up display is just atrocious and that the streaking feels like this weird Frankenstein mix of UFC 2's arcade style and UFC 5's freeform system. Basically, they feel it caters way too much to casual players. Now, to be totally fair here, even the harshest critics will admit that under the hood, there are some massive steps forward. For one, the addition of frame data in the handbook is an absolute dream for the hardcore stats nerds. We also finally have multiple blocking stances with unique swing animations, the highly requested return of underhook clinch initiations, and a really cool brand new cage-seated grappling position. Though, side note, players are practically begging EA to make that specific position selectable in practice mode. Which brings us to part 4, the flow state controversy, a divisive mechanic. Okay, real quick, if you have a buddy who is on the fence about buying UFC 6, you need to share this explainer with them right now because this next part is the ultimate deal breaker for a lot of people. The absolute biggest point of contention is a new mechanic called flow state. It's basically a meter-based system that rewards aggressive, style-specific momentum. Once you fill that meter and pop it, your fighter gets these crazy active buffs mid-fight, basically turning them into an absolute nightmare for your opponent to deal with. And this is what's creating a massive split in the community. Reviewers think it's this super intuitive feature that really helps newcomers turn the tide of a losing fight. But hardcore players, oh man, they are arguing that it guarantees block breaking and health events way too easily. They're calling it an awful gimmick that totally breaks the realism of what's supposed to be an MMA simulation. But honestly, what's really driving the community up the wall isn't just the math behind the mechanic, it's how it actually looks on screen. When flow state activates, the screen literally forces this black and white color tint, all the in-game audio gets muffled, and these huge, bright Tekken-style hitsparks start flashing on blocks and strikes. And the absolute kicker? There is currently no setting to turn these visual effects off, even if you're playing in strict simulation mode. It completely yanks players right out of that realistic broadcast feel. Moving on to Part 5, Bugs and Roster Grievances, the EA Forums Backlash. Beyond the gameplay choices, players are documenting some incredibly severe bugs right now. We are talking about PlayStation 5 consoles literally overheating and crashing just from sitting idle on the laggy gym and main menu screens. In online ranked, players keep hitting this infamous white screen crash that forces them to quit out, which unfairly tanks their rank. Also, the new control setting that's supposed to keep your inputs consistent whether you fight Southpaw or Orthodox, completely bugged online. And incredibly, if your fighter takes massive leg damage and starts limping, all you have to do is switch stances and boom, they miraculously stop limping. It totally ruins the strategy of chopping down the legs.
And it doesn't stop there. The roster itself is catching some serious heat. Think about real-world MMA history. It's built on icons like Conor McGregor and John Jones jumping up and conquering multiple weight classes, right? But in UFC 6, they are locked to just a single division. On top of that, the game is missing several currently active ranked fighters, and absolute fan-favorite legends like Cain Velasquez and Nick Diaz have been entirely removed, even though their character models literally existed in the last few games.
And finally, Part 6, the final verdict. Is it worth the upgrade? So, at $69.99, you are definitely paying a premium price for this title. Now, it undeniably delivers the most content-rich package in EA UFC history when it comes to single-player modes and tutorials, but it absolutely demands that you buy into EA's specific, slightly more arcade-focused vision of what MMA gaming should be. Let's break it down simply. If you are a casual fan looking for a super cinematic career mode, brutal slow-motion knockouts, and fluid combat, the hype is totally real for you. This is probably the best UFC game yet. But if you are looking for a pure, technical simulation without flashy hitsparks and you want deep, accurate rosters, well, the current reality of the game is probably going to leave you pretty frustrated. In fact, a lot of veterans are strongly suggesting you wait for a sale or at least wait for a few major patches before jumping in. So the ultimate question hanging in the air is this. Will EA actually listen to the hardcore community and quickly patch in these essential fixes, like, say, a simple toggle switch for those annoying flow state visuals? Or is the flashy arcade-style future of the Octagon already set in stone for this console generation? What do you guys think? Drop your final verdict down below. And hey, if you found this explainer helpful for cutting through all the noise, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another one of our deep dives. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me today, and I will catch you in the next explainer.